Greetings. Thanks for taking time to watch this video. As I mentioned Sunday and the launch of our new discipleship process and our growth theme, that I would be taking some time over the next couple of weeks to get into a little more detail. And it's kind of hard to cover all the details in a church service. And so we will be, over the course of the next several weeks at least, sharing some fairly brief videos to kind of give you some more details about the process and what you need to do to be able to participate in that. So take note. I just decided this shirt would be a good shirt for the first recording to subconsciously get in your mind the idea of growing with the plants and the flowers and the leaves. Not really. I just chose this shirt for today, but that would have worked. So I want to mention, I guess, some of the questions I think we got on Sunday. It was kind of what's the first step, and so I want to share that with you. And actually, before I give kind of the first step, just give a little more background of this process. I think I touched on it maybe a little bit Sunday, but it's just really amazing to me to watch the way God has worked and kind of put a lot of different things together that really at the time didn't realize how coordinated they were. We started last summer by introducing to our deacons, the leaders of our small groups that we call Oikos, the Spiritual Growth 1 book. And initially we were just looking at that as kind of being a tool for this year for our small groups to use as a way of growing and developing. And towards the end of the year, we got to revisiting being more purposeful on Thursday nights with our teaching and training and equipping. And so we were developing some things for that. And then towards the end of the year, all of this kind of merged together and has turned into what we are now presenting and using as a pathway of moving forward in our development and our growth. And so, again, many have asked, kind of what's the first step? And so I think really that first step is making sure that you have purchased your Spiritual Growth 1 book and begin reading through that book. As Brother Jim Barr stated on Sunday night, it really doesn't matter what level of your walk with God you're in, whether you're brand new or if you have been a Christian for decades and very involved in ministry for decades. There are things that you can glean. In fact, just this morning, as I was reading through a chapter of Spiritual Growth 1, there was a couple of things that were just really stood out to me. So again, no matter what level you're at in your walk with God, and so we want everyone to work through this, and so that would be the first step. And if you haven't had a chance, let me just take a moment for those maybe that haven't had a chance to explain the Living Logos. There's about 12 books. This is Spiritual Growth 1, and they cover a variety of topics. There's Spiritual Growth 1 and Spiritual Growth 2. There's about 3 books that are on the life of Christ. There's one on Genesis, there's one on Exodus, and several other topics. And so we are using these as a part of our process of helping to equip people to provide a way for them to grow and develop in their walk with God. They're going to be used in a variety of ways. So Spiritual Growth 1, that's something that first and foremost you are working through on your own. You're reading it. At the end of each chapter, there are some questions. And I will tell you that those questions they're they're all pretty much direct quotes of things that you read. So if you get test anxiety, there's no reason to worry about that. They're all pretty much clearly spelled out. And it's just another way of kind of reinforcing the material and helping for you to get it into your mind, into your spirit even more. Some of the other Living Logos books, we're going to be using them as essentially as a study guide or curriculum for some of our classes, and working through them that way. Back to the Spiritual Growth 1 and 2, that again you're kind of working through those on your own. Your deacon, your oikos, is going to be a big part of this. Your deacon, and again, in case you're not familiar, we use that term primarily to identify our small group leaders. They're going to be a big part of this process for you in several different ways. One of those ways is as an encouragement to you to help you through the process. And let's be honest, when we first start something, there's usually a lot of excitement, anticipation, but just kind of our human nature is that can tend to wane. And so part of our deacon's role and other areas of leadership is to continue to encourage you to continue in this process. We are encouraging our deacons to do kind of a variety of things with this process of connecting with you. Some of those things are on a kind of a one-on-one personal level. Other ideas would be some gatherings of your oikos and talking through what each of you have been learning, or maybe a chance to ask some questions about something maybe you're not quite understanding or need a little bit of help on. So we don't want you in this process alone. And obviously there are others, myself included, that are here to support and help you throughout this process. So again, back to this first step, encouraging you to get your Living Logos Spiritual Growth 1 and start there. And then the other part is we are going to be starting our Thursday night classes, that these classes will be a part of the discipleship development process. And some of these will be based on the Living Logos. Some of these other topics are going to be done as a video series, that there will be some group interaction, so that either during or at the conclusion of the video for that evening, you can have a little bit of time to kind of share and interact with each other about what it is you have just heard. Let me give you a little bit more explanation of how we're going to operate Thursday nights when we are doing these classes. So we're going to divide Thursday night up into two sessions, basically two 1-hour segments, and so we will be repeating each topic 2 times a night. So, for example, if the topic is Life of Christ, Level 1, that will be taught at 7 p.m. and then again approximately at 8 p.m. We will have a number of classes that will be going on Thursday nights when we have these probably 6-week sessions that will take place to cover these topics. So therefore, you can pick 2 different classes. So you could take Life of Christ the first hour, and then spiritual preparation the second hour. So we are trying to provide as much as we can, not to rush through the process, but we want you to be able to get as much as you are hungry to get. I will insert, for those that may not choose to sign up for one of these specific classes, then they are welcome to just come and sit in the sanctuary. And because of the way we're going to be doing this, if somebody wants to come at 7, sit through the first hour and leave at 8, then they can do that. Or if they'd like to come at 8 and sit through that class for an hour and then leave after that, they're welcome to do that. So we are looking to offer a minimum of 4 different classes each go around. More than likely, we will take a week or 2 break in between these 6-week sessions, and we'll all be together in the sanctuary. And there's a couple of reasons for that, and one of the primary reasons for that is to just give me a chance to share anything I feel like the Lord has been giving me for us as a congregation as a whole. All of those other weeks that we're doing classes, there will not be one combined session where we're all together. We will be split up into classes throughout the entire evening. That's a little bit different than what we've done in the past, but that's the way we are feeling to do it at this point. We will have, starting several weeks before a new round of classes, we will have registration available. We will limit our class sizes, and some of that will be just simply based on the location that the class is going to be in. But in addition to our registration for those classes is when you will also purchase you can purchase the material for that class, in particular if it's a Living Logos class. If you have already purchased the entire set, or if you choose to purchase the entire set, then obviously you will have your material already. But if you're choosing to kind of purchase the material as you go along, depending on what it is you're either working through on your own, such as Spiritual Growth 1, or if it's one of the classes that has a book or some other material, then again, you can purchase that basically at the time of signing up for that class. And we will have the material ready to go for you when you get to that first class. One of the other questions that is relevant to all of this, in not only the material that we have already laid out as a part of the levels that we are going to be rolling out right now, but I'm sure in the future as well. If there are books that you've already read, if there are series that you have already watched, you are welcome to use that as a part of this process. We are not going to mandate you to redo that. For example, I know through the years there have been a number of people that have read the book Ordering Your Private World. So if you've already read that book, you are welcome to use that as a part of this process. If you choose to read it again and refresh yourself, obviously that would be a great thing to do. You'd be welcome to do that. But at this point, we're not going to mandate you to do it that way. I will say, and one of the examples would be the selfie series that is a part of Level 1. We have shared that series already, encouraged a number of people to watch that already. But as we incorporate it into this process, we will also be developing some questions that will go along with that. And so what we would at least ask you to do is to go through and answer those questions, and therefore not as much to prove to us that you have done this, but again to sort of reinforce the things that you have read or listened to. That's really the first priority of whether it's with the Spiritual Growth, the Living Logos books of the questions, or all of the material that we will be providing by video online will also have questions to go along with it. I would be dishonest if I wouldn't acknowledge that there definitely is a part of that is for accountability. We are hoping that you're not just playing a video or an audio in the background while you are very distracted doing something else. There are times that's fine, and I think there is even benefit to that if you're not fully focused on what you're doing. But with this material, we feel like this is some very fundamental key things to our relationship with God, our walk with God, to ministry to ministry development. So as best as possible, we don't want this to be just something that's in the background while you're cleaning house or changing the oil in your car. We're hoping for you to be focused. So the questions are a part of accountability, but again, really first and foremost, it's just to hopefully try to reinforce the things that you are learning and kind of help them stick a little bit more in your mind, in your spirit, and allow them to be put into your heart so that the Lord can use those things to help grow and to develop you. So I think those are the basics to cover in this first video. My goal is for these to be very brief. I don't want them to take up a huge part of your day. I don't want you focusing on this. I'd rather you be focusing on giving some time to reading some of the material or watching some of the videos. If you do have questions, please, as I've already stated, if you're already in an oikos, your deacon is kind of a first go-to. And if they are not certain of what the answer is to that question, then they will know the individuals to communicate with to get some answers to those questions. If you have my information, you're welcome to contact me. I am more than willing and happy to be available to clarify. I will insert, obviously, with any process. I think it's basically impossible to have it completely perfect from the very beginning. And so as we continue to grow and develop, not only individually in our relationship and walk with God, this process will continue to grow and develop. And your input, your feedback, your questions, one of the benefits of your questions is it helps us to perhaps think about some things that maybe we have not considered at this point. So I would encourage you not to hesitate to contact someone in getting some answers, some direction on anything that might not be clear. As I've stated from the beginning, it's very hard to get into the details, the nuts and bolts of all of this in the setting of a church service for a whole lot of reasons. So please don't hesitate. We are here to support and to help you in this process, and we are all in this to grow in the knowledge, to grow in the grace and in the knowledge of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. God bless you.